Imagine walking through a garden that hasn't been planted in 2,000 years. The soil is the same, the seeds are the same, but everything growing in it has been erased from modern memory. That garden once fed prophets, kings, and healers who understood something about food that we have completely forgotten. These were not just meals, they were medicines. Foods that ancient texts describe with words that translate directly to healing and restoration. And here is the strangest part. When modern researchers finally got around to testing these foods in laboratories, they found compounds in them that the pharmaceutical industry is now trying to synthesize and patent. I have spent years cross-referencing biblical food references with peer-reviewed nutrition research, and what I found changes everything about the way I think about my kitchen. Today, I am showing you 20 forgotten biblical superfoods, foods that were once common knowledge and are now almost entirely absent from the modern plate. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we post new videos every week connecting ancient food wisdom with modern science. Number 3 on this list was considered so sacred it was stored alongside the Ark of the Covenant, and number 20 was carved into the pillars of Solomon's temple for a reason that modern cardiology is just now beginning to understand. Here are 20 forgotten biblical superfoods that will heal you instantly. Number 1. Leeks, the Egyptian craving. When the Israelites wandered the desert after leaving Egypt, they did not cry out for gold or comfort, they cried out for food. Numbers chapter 11 verse 5 records their exact words. We remember the leeks. Of all the foods they could have named, leeks made the list alongside onions, garlic, melons, and cucumbers. That is not nostalgia. That is a body remembering what it needs. Leeks belong to the allium family, the same group that includes onions and garlic, and they carry a concentrated load of sulfur compounds that support liver detoxification pathways. They are also one of the richest vegetable sources of prebiotic fiber, specifically a type called inulin, which feeds the beneficial bacteria in your large intestine and supports digestive regularity. In ancient Egyptian and Roman kitchens, leeks were a staple food, not a garnish. Emperor Nero reportedly consumed leek soup daily, believing it protected his voice. Modern use is simple. Slice leeks thinly and add them to soups, stews, or frittatas. They soften quickly when sautéed in olive oil and develop a mild, sweet flavor that pairs well with nearly any protein. Most grocery stores carry them year-round, and a single leek is one of the most affordable vegetables in the produce section. Number 2. Garlic, the builder's fuel. Garlic appears in the same verse as leeks, Numbers 11:5, as one of the foods the Israelites longed for in the wilderness. But garlic's medicinal history runs even deeper than its culinary one. Ancient Egyptians fed garlic to the laborers who built the pyramids, believing it gave them strength and protected them from illness. The Greek physician Hippocrates prescribed garlic for a wide range of conditions. The active compound responsible for most of garlic's health effects is allicin, which forms when a garlic clove is crushed or chopped and exposed to air. Allicin has been shown in modern research to have antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral properties. It also supports healthy blood pressure by promoting the production of hydrogen sulfide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessel walls. The key to getting the most from garlic is letting it sit for 10 to 15 minutes after chopping before you cook it. That waiting period allows the enzyme alliinase to fully convert alliin into allicin. If you throw chopped garlic straight into a hot pan, the heat deactivates the enzyme before the conversion is complete, and you lose a significant portion of the benefit. Add garlic to dressings, sauces, roasted vegetables, or simply spread roasted cloves on bread. Number 3. Coriander, the manna companion. This is the food that traveled with the ark. Exodus chapter 16, verse 31 describes the manna that sustained the Israelites in the desert, and the text compares its appearance directly to coriander seed. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like coriander seed, white. Coriander is the seed of the cilantro plant, and while the fresh leaves are polarizing, the dried seeds have been used across every major ancient civilization, from Egypt to India to China. Coriander seeds contain linalool and other terpene compounds that have demonstrated anti-anxiety and mild sedative effects in animal studies. They also support digestion by stimulating the production of digestive enzymes, which is why they appear in traditional remedies for bloating and gas across so many cultures independently. The seeds have a warm, citrusy flavor when toasted. Grind them fresh in a spice grinder and add them to soups, curries, roasted vegetables, or homemade bread. They are available in the spice aisle of every grocery store, and a single jar lasts months. Number 4. Mustard seed, the faith grain. Mustard appears in one of the most quoted passages in all of Scripture, Matthew 13, verses 31 and 32. The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs. Jesus used the mustard seed as a metaphor for faith, but the seed itself is a nutritional powerhouse that the ancient world understood on a practical level. Mustard seeds contain glucosinolates, the same class of compounds found in broccoli and cabbage that have drawn significant research attention for their role in supporting cellular defense mechanisms. When you chew or grind mustard seeds, an enzyme called myrosinase converts the glucosinolates into isothiocyanates, which are biologically active compounds that support the body's natural detoxification processes. Mustard also has a thermogenic effect, meaning it raises your metabolic rate slightly after consumption. Use whole mustard seeds in pickling, salad dressings, or Indian dal preparations. Ground mustard powder can be mixed into marinades or sauces. The flavor is sharp and pungent. A little goes a long way. Number 5. Barley, the soldier's grain. Barley is one of the 7 species of the land of Israel listed in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 8, and it appears throughout the Bible as a food of sustenance during hard times. In the book of Judges, Gideon overhears a soldier dreaming of a barley loaf tumbling into the Midianite camp and destroying a tent. Barley was the grain of the common people, less expensive than wheat, but arguably more nutritious. It is one of the highest fiber grains available, with a single cup of cooked pearl barley delivering about 6 grams of fiber, much of it in the form of beta-glucan. Beta-glucan is a soluble fiber that has been extensively studied for its ability to support healthy cholesterol levels. The FDA has authorized a health claim for beta-glucan from barley based on the strength of this evidence. Barley also has a lower glycemic index than most other grains, meaning it raises blood sugar more slowly and keeps you feeling full longer. Cook barley like you would rice, using a ratio of 1 cup barley to 3 cups water, simmering for about 45 minutes. Add it to soups, use it as a base for grain bowls, or serve it as a side dish in place of rice. Barley soup was one of the most common meals in the ancient Near East, and there is good reason it endured for thousands of years. Number 6. Lentils, the birthright stew. The most famous meal in the Bible may be the lentil stew that Jacob used to obtain Esau's birthright. Genesis chapter 25, verse 34 records that Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Lentils were so valuable in the ancient world that a bowl of them could stand in for an inheritance. They are one of the oldest cultivated crops on Earth, with archaeological evidence dating back over 11,000 years. Lentils are exceptionally rich in plant-based protein and iron, making them one of the most nutrient-dense foods per calorie available in any grocery store. They also contain substantial amounts of folate, potassium, and fiber. Unlike most dried legumes, lentils require no soaking. Red lentils cook in about 15 minutes and break down into a thick, creamy consistency, ideal for soups and stews. Green and brown lentils hold their shape better and work well in salads and grain bowls. A 1-pound bag of dried lentils produces roughly 8 servings and remains one of the cheapest protein sources in any grocery aisle. In a world where nutrient-dense food is increasingly expensive, lentils remain one of the most affordable paths to a mineral-rich diet. Number 7. Bitter herbs, the Passover medicine. Exodus chapter 12 verse 8 instructs the Israelites to eat the Passover lamb with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. The Hebrew word used is merorim, and scholars identify it with plants like chicory, endive, dandelion greens, and wild lettuce. These are the bitter-tasting leafy greens that most modern eaters actively avoid. That avoidance is a nutritional loss. Bitter compounds stimulate the production of bile in the liver, which is essential for fat digestion and the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. They also trigger digestive enzyme secretion in the stomach and pancreas, which improves the overall efficiency of nutrient extraction from food. Traditional medicine systems across the world, from Ayurveda to traditional Chinese medicine, have used bitter plants as digestive tonics for centuries. The bitterness itself is the medicine. If you find raw dandelion greens too intense, sautéing them briefly in olive oil with garlic takes the edge off while preserving the bitter compounds. Chicory and endive are milder options that work well in salads. Adding a small portion of bitter greens to any meal improves your body's ability to extract nutrients from everything else on the plate. Number 8. Walnuts, the brain of the garden. The Song of Solomon chapter 6 verse 11 mentions a garden of nuts, and scholars widely identify this as a reference to walnut groves, which were common in the ancient Near East. The walnut's resemblance to the human brain is one of the most frequently cited examples in the doctrine of signatures, the ancient belief that a food's appearance reveals its medicinal purpose. Modern research has given that old idea a surprising amount of support. Walnuts are the richest tree nut source of alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that supports cardiovascular and neurological health. They also contain polyphenols and melatonin, a combination rarely found together in a single food. The polyphenols act as antioxidants, and the melatonin supports healthy sleep-wake cycles. A small handful of walnuts, roughly 1 ounce or about 14 halves, makes a meaningful daily addition. Chop them into oatmeal, toss them into salads, or eat them plain as a snack. Store them in the refrigerator or freezer to preserve the delicate omega-3 oils, which can go rancid at room temperature faster than other nuts. Ancient Persian physicians specifically recommended walnuts for headaches and mental exhaustion, and modern brain imaging studies have shown that regular walnut consumption is associated with measurable changes in cognitive performance in older adults. Number 9. Figs, the first medicine. Figs hold a unique place in biblical history. They are the first plant mentioned by name after the creation of Adam and Eve. Genesis 3:7 records that Adam and Eve sewed fig leaves together. But figs appear far more dramatically in 2 Kings chapter 20, where the prophet Isaiah prescribes a poultice of figs to heal King Hezekiah's boil, and the king recovers. That makes figs one of the earliest recorded examples of food used as medicine in Western literature. Figs are naturally rich in dietary fiber, potassium, and calcium. Dried figs concentrate these nutrients further, making them one of the most mineral-dense dried fruits available. The soluble fiber in figs supports digestive regularity, and the potassium content contributes to healthy blood pressure management. Fresh figs have a short season, typically late summer, but dried figs are available year-round and retain most of their nutritional value. Slice them into yogurt, add them to cheese boards, or simmer them into a compote that pairs well with roasted meats. The natural sweetness of figs makes them an effective replacement for processed sugar in baking when pureed. Number 10. Dates, the dessert energy. Dates appear throughout the Bible as a symbol of abundance and vitality. The phrase, "a land flowing with milk and honey," repeated more than 20 times in the Hebrew Bible, likely refers to date honey rather than bee honey, according to many biblical scholars. Palm trees and their fruit were so central to life in the ancient Near East that they were carved into the walls of Solomon's temple. Dates are one of the most calorie-dense whole fruits available, packed with natural sugars that provide rapid energy alongside fiber that moderates the blood sugar response. They are also rich in potassium, with a single medjool date containing more potassium per calorie than a banana. Dates contain tannins, which are polyphenolic compounds with anti-inflammatory and astringent properties, used in traditional medicine across the Middle East for centuries. Use dates as a natural sweetener in smoothies, energy balls, or baking. Stuff them with almond butter or a walnut half for a snack that combines quick energy with sustained satiety. They store well at room temperature for weeks and in the refrigerator for months. Number 11. Almonds, the watchful tree. Almonds appear twice in Genesis chapter 43, when Jacob sends them as a gift to the Egyptian ruler, calling them among the best products of the land. But the deeper symbolism comes from their Hebrew name, shaked, which means the watchful one. The almond tree is the first tree to bloom in spring in the Near East, often flowering while snow is still on the ground. That watchfulness made it a symbol of divine alertness and readiness. Almonds are one of the most nutritionally complete nuts available. They are rich in vitamin E, which functions as an antioxidant protecting cell membranes from oxidative damage. They contain healthy monounsaturated fats, protein, and fiber in a ratio that promotes satiety and stable blood sugar. 1 ounce of almonds, roughly 23 nuts, delivers 80 milligrams of magnesium. Eat them raw, roast them with a pinch of sea salt, or blend them into almond butter. Almond flour has become a popular grain-free baking alternative. Soaking almonds overnight in water activates their enzymes and begins breaking down the phytic acid in their skin, which can improve mineral absorption for people who eat them regularly. Number 12. Pistachios, the royal gift. Pistachios appear alongside almonds in Genesis 43:11 as one of the finest products Jacob sends to Egypt. The fact that they were chosen as a diplomatic gift tells you something about their value in the ancient world. Pistachio trees grew wild across the Levant and Persia, and their nuts were reserved for royalty and special occasions. Pistachios stand out nutritionally because they are one of the lowest calorie nuts per serving, yet they deliver more individual nuts per ounce than any other variety, roughly 49 pistachios compared to 23 almonds. This makes portion control almost effortless. They contain lutein and zeaxanthin, two carotenoid pigments that accumulate in the retina of the eye and support vision health as you age. Their green and purple coloring comes from these same pigments. The act of shelling pistachios also slows down eating, which gives your brain time to register satiety signals before you overeat. Buy them in the shell rather than pre-shelled for this reason. Add chopped pistachios to salads, grain bowls, or yogurt, or eat them plain as a satisfying afternoon snack. Number 13. Flaxseed, the fabric that feeds. Flax is one of the oldest cultivated plants in human history, and it appears throughout the Bible in the context of linen fabric. Proverbs chapter 31 describes the virtuous woman working with flax, and linen was the prescribed material for priestly garments in the tabernacle. But flax is not just a fiber crop. Its seeds are one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, the same omega-3 fatty acid found in walnuts, but in even higher concentrations. Flaxseed also contains lignans, a type of polyphenol with antioxidant properties that are found in flaxseed at concentrations far higher than in any other common food. The fiber content is substantial, with both soluble and insoluble types present in a ratio that supports digestive health. The key to releasing the nutrients in flaxseed is grinding it. Whole flax seeds can pass through your digestive tract intact, delivering almost none of their nutritional value. Grind a small batch in a coffee grinder and store the meal in the refrigerator. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons to smoothies, oatmeal, or yogurt daily. The flavor is mild and slightly nutty, barely noticeable when mixed into other foods. Number 14. Hyssop, the purification herb. Hyssop appears in some of the most significant moments in biblical history. In Exodus chapter 12, the Israelites use hyssop branches to apply the blood of the lamb to their doorposts during the first Passover. In Psalm 51 verse 7, David prays, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean." And at the crucifixion, a sponge soaked in vinegar is lifted to Jesus on a branch of hyssop. Biblical scholars debate whether the plant referred to is the European hyssop, Hyssopus officinalis, or a related species like Syrian oregano, Origanum syriacum. Both belong to the mint family and share similar aromatic compounds, including thymol and carvacrol, which have demonstrated antimicrobial activity in laboratory studies. These same compounds are the reason oregano oil has become a popular natural remedy for respiratory and digestive complaints. Hyssop tea can be made by steeping dried leaves in hot water for 5 to 7 minutes. The flavor is minty with a slightly bitter edge. It has been used in traditional herbal medicine across the Mediterranean and Middle East as a remedy for coughs, sore throats, and digestive discomfort for centuries. You can find dried hyssop in specialty herb shops or grow it easily in a home garden. Number 15. Capers, the forgotten appetite. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 5 contains a passage about aging and decline that includes the phrase, "the caper berry shall fail." The Hebrew word aviona refers to the caper plant, and its use in this context suggests that capers were associated with appetite and vitality in the ancient world. When the caper berry fails, desire fades. Capers are the unopened flower buds of the Capparis spinosa plant, which grows wild across the Mediterranean basin. They are typically preserved in salt or brine, which concentrates their flavor into a sharp, briny, almost electric burst of taste. Nutritionally, capers are remarkably rich in quercetin, a flavonoid with potent anti-inflammatory and antihistamine properties. Per gram, capers contain more quercetin than almost any other food tested. They also provide rutin, which supports vascular health. Use capers in sauces, salads, pasta dishes, or as a topping for grilled fish. A small jar lasts a long time because you only need a tablespoon or two to add significant flavor and nutritional value to a meal. The caper bush itself is extraordinarily hardy, growing in the cracks of ancient walls and stone ruins across the Mediterranean, a plant that thrives where almost nothing else can survive. Number 16. Black cumin, the seed of blessing. Isaiah chapter 28 verses 25 through 27 describes a farmer planting black cumin, using the Hebrew word ketzak, and then threshing it carefully with a rod rather than a heavy wheel to avoid crushing the delicate seeds. That specific agricultural detail tells us the ancient world valued these seeds enough to handle them with exceptional care. Black cumin, known scientifically as Nigella sativa, has been called the seed that heals everything except death in traditional Islamic medicine. The primary active compound is thymoquinone, which has been studied extensively for its antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and immune-supporting properties. Modern research has produced hundreds of peer-reviewed papers on Nigella sativa, examining its effects on blood sugar regulation, respiratory health, and immune function. The seeds have a complex flavor, slightly bitter with peppery and oregano-like notes. Sprinkle them on bread before baking, add them to salad dressings, or take cold-pressed black seed oil by the teaspoon. Black seed oil is available in most health food stores and has become one of the fastest-growing functional food products in the natural health market. Number 17. Saffron, the golden thread. Saffron appears in the Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 14, as one of the precious plants in the beloved's garden, listed alongside frankincense, myrrh, and aloe. Saffron is the dried stigma of the Crocus sativus flower, and each flower produces only 3 stigmas, which must be harvested by hand. That labor intensity makes saffron the most expensive spice in the world by weight, but a little goes a remarkably long way. The active compounds in saffron include crocin and saffronol, which give it the distinctive golden color and aroma. These compounds have drawn research attention for their potential role in supporting mood and emotional well-being. Several clinical trials have examined saffron supplementation in the context of mood support, with results that have generated significant interest in the research community. Beyond its bioactive compounds, saffron adds a floral, honey-like flavor and a vivid golden hue to rice dishes, stews, teas, and baked goods. You need only a few threads per dish. Steep them in warm water or broth for 10 minutes before adding to release the color and flavor compounds fully. Number 18. Frankincense, the sacred resin. Frankincense is one of the 3 gifts the Magi brought to the infant Jesus in Matthew chapter 2, verse 11, and it appears throughout the Hebrew Bible as a key component of sacred incense burned in the tabernacle and temple. But frankincense is not just a ceremonial material. It is a resin harvested from boswellia trees, and the boswellic acids it contains have become one of the most studied natural anti-inflammatory compounds in modern pharmacology. Research is focused particularly on a compound called AKBA, acetyl-11-keto-beta-boswellic acid, which inhibits an enzyme called 5-lipoxygenase. This enzyme is part of the inflammatory cascade that produces leukotrienes, molecules involved in chronic inflammatory responses throughout the body. Boswellia extract is now available as a supplement in most health food stores. It can also be consumed as a resin, chewed slowly like gum, which is how it has been traditionally used across the Arabian Peninsula and East Africa for centuries. Frankincense essential oil is widely used in aromatherapy, though the ingestion of essential oils should always be discussed with a qualified healthcare provider. The fact that a substance used in sacred rituals 3,000 years ago is now the subject of modern anti-inflammatory research is one of the most striking examples of ancient wisdom meeting modern science. Number 19. Olive oil, the liquid gold. Olive oil may be the single most referenced food in the entire Bible. It anointed kings, fueled the lamps of the temple, and served as the base for sacred ointments. Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 8 lists it as one of the 7 species of the Promised Land. The prophet Elijah performs a miracle multiplying a widow's supply of oil in 1 Kings chapter 17. Oil was wealth. Oil was light. Oil was medicine. Modern nutrition science has confirmed what the ancient world knew intuitively. Extra virgin olive oil contains oleocanthal, a polyphenol compound that produces the peppery, throat-catching sensation you feel when you taste high-quality oil. Oleocanthal has been found to share a mechanism of action with ibuprofen, inhibiting the same cyclooxygenase enzymes involved in the inflammatory response. That does not mean olive oil replaces medication, but it does mean that daily consumption contributes to a consistent anti-inflammatory environment in your body. Olive oil is also rich in oleic acid, a monounsaturated fat that supports healthy cholesterol ratios. Use extra virgin olive oil as your primary cooking fat, drizzle it on finished dishes, and use it as the base for salad dressings. Look for oils in dark bottles with a harvest date on the label. The fresher the oil, the higher the polyphenol content. Number 20. Pomegranate, the crown of creation. I saved pomegranate for last because no other biblical food carries the combined weight of spiritual symbolism and scientific validation that this fruit does. Pomegranate appears in Deuteronomy 8:8 as one of the 7 species. It decorates the hem of the high priest's robe in Exodus 28:33. It was carved into the pillars of Solomon's temple. It appears in the Song of Solomon as a symbol of beauty and fertility. Some scholars even argue that the fruit of the tree of knowledge was a pomegranate, not an apple. The pomegranate's health profile is equally extraordinary. It contains punicalagin, one of the largest polyphenol molecules found in any food, which has demonstrated antioxidant activity far exceeding that of most commonly consumed fruits and beverages. Research has shown that pomegranate juice has antioxidant capacity approximately 3 times greater than that of red wine or green tea. The fruit also contains ellagic acid and anthocyanins, compounds that support cardiovascular health by promoting healthy blood vessel function. Eat the seeds fresh, straight from the fruit. Add them to salads, yogurt, or grain bowls for a burst of tart sweetness and color. Pomegranate juice is widely available, but choose varieties with no added sugar. A glass of pure pomegranate juice is one of the most antioxidant-dense beverages you can drink. This is the fruit that kings planted in their gardens and priests wore on their robes, and modern science is showing us exactly why. You have just walked through a garden that most people have completely forgotten exists. 20 foods that prophets ate, kings gifted, and priests incorporated into sacred rituals are sitting in your grocery store right now, waiting to be rediscovered. The pattern across all 20 is striking. Anti-inflammatory compounds, antioxidant polyphenols, prebiotic fibers, omega-3 fatty acids. These are the exact categories that modern nutrition research identifies as the foundations of long-term health, and the ancient world built its diet around them without needing a single laboratory to confirm what their bodies already knew. Start with 3. Pick the 3 foods from this list that interest you the most and find a way to include them in your meals this week. That is exactly how every lasting dietary change begins, with 3 small additions, not a complete overhaul. Smash that like button if this video opened your eyes to foods you had never considered before. Drop a comment and tell me which biblical superfood surprised you the most. I read every comment and I love hearing your stories. And if you have not subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss a video. We are connecting the oldest food wisdom on Earth with the newest science available, one video at a time.